Hello and welcome to the Sky Sports Golf Podcast presented by Callaway and presented today from beautifully sunny Wentworth ahead of the biggest week on the DP World Tour, the BMW PGA Championship, a tournament steeped in history, won by some of the biggest superstars in the history of the game and a couple of other rogues as well. Yes, not one, but two past champions joining me on this week's podcast, two past champions of this fine championship. The champion of 2006,
yes,
David Howell, alongside me. Good to see you, Howler.
Lovely to be here.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, always nice to be here at Wentworth. Absolutely, good memories, and nice to be alongside TJ as well.
The champion of 1992.
Yes, I beat Noah in a playoff.
Tony Johnstone. TJ, I'll ask you first. Winning around this place, where does that sit in terms of what you achieved in your illustrious career?
My biggest win, probably my most enjoyable win, was my very first win as a tour pro, was the South African Open, being from Southern Africa. But this was, head and shoulders above anything else that I achieved, really. I had got a 10-year exemption for it in those days too, which was massive. You get a 10-year exemption, you can afford a blip in your career, the odd bad year, and just keep going. And everybody seems to have them. But no, it was huge, and it's something, it's like there's something that, you keep forever.
Yeah.
PGA champion.
Your memories of 2006, Tyler? Five shots you won by, wasn't it?
Yes, I did. Yeah, amazing. The highlight of my life, outside of Ryder Cups, but individually, no doubt about that. As a Brit, I used to come here and I'm not sure if I ever came to watch, but no sooner did I get on tour, I was aware that Tony had won. I remember watching Mike Harwood win. I'd watched, I'd watched Monty and everybody. And when you look at the names on the trophy, you're like, oh, I'd love that. I struggled here my first couple of years. It was a difficult course. It was a bit much for me. So to elevate my game, over the next decade or so, to be in a position to go ahead and win was amazing.
Yeah, we're going to get fully into what makes this week so special a bit later on. We'll also obviously have plenty of Ryder Cup chat. 11 of the European team are in the field this week. I'll be speaking to three of them, to Jon Rahm, to Tommy Fleetwood and to Rory McIlroy, who of course won dramatically in a playoff. Where have we heard that before? This weekend just passed at the Irish Open in front of an adoring home crowd. So that's, gents, where we shall begin. Howler, have you ever heard a roar as loud as that one that greeted the eagle putt on the 72nd hole?
Well, only in Ryder Cups, I think. I mean, yes, you would hear it then, but not for an individual in a tournament. I mean, it's an amazing thing, isn't it? It's Rory's success, but that it feels like it's their success. Yeah. I mean, that's sport for you, isn't it? Where when you're watching your national team, it's not you, it's them, isn't it? But it feels that way, and it was amazing to witness. I was very privileged to be commentating last week. And it was easy because it was so good.
Yeah.
And he's just built differently, isn't he? You don't hold that putt on the last, not really, do you? You lose by one. He's given everyone a thrill, and someone else, Joachim walks away, sort of, dashing everyone's hopes. But that's not the way it panned out. He did hole it. Just sensational.
To have to eagle the 72nd hole and do it. TJ, the guy's pure box office.
No, absolutely, he's special, and his whole demeanour and the way he carries himself. I know he gets a little bit of flack sometimes on social media, and every time I see it, I think, if you don't like Rory, there's something wrong with you, pal, not with him, because, I mean, just everything about him, yes, sometimes he speaks his mind. So sometimes he says things that not everyone agrees with, but it was just a magical moment. When he hit the putt, I thought, nah, there's no way, surely. But it's Rory McIlroy, 4th win of the year.
What a
the Master.
What a year it's been already.
It's just sensational.
And funny, when you're playing in the Ryder Cup, or involved with you are aware that you've got the hopes and dreams of those fans that are right there in front of you. There's thousands, millions on TV, but the 10,000 that are watching, whatever, it's going to feel like their win or their defeat. Yeah. And Rory was carrying that burden with him last week, all week long. All the Shane and others, to be honest with you, but let's face facts, it was the Rory show by the way the scoring panned out, and I think he was fully aware of them. That brings its own pressures.
And do you know what's interesting in that regard, Howler? I remember chatting to him about this at Portrush this year as well. In 2019 at Portrush, he tried to block that out. He tried to this is just another week like any other week. This year he actually embraced being in front of an Irish crowd at Royal Portrush, and he did exactly the same last week as well. Yes. And TJ touches upon the fact that he does cop a lot of abuse online, I think almost exclusively from faceless American trolls online. To be in front of his home crowd last week and realise just how loved he is, I think will work wonders for him.
Oh, totally. Well, Rory, he's living out his career, in front of our eyes. Obviously, he's living out his dreams. He's achieved everything that he could possibly have dreamed of. In fact, the Grand Slam was his dream, wasn't it? So he's done it all, and he's got plenty of money. We know that. Everyone knows that. But he still goes around. He is like a little kid. I'm living out my dream here, and that's admirable. It's lovely. He's still a great guy. I can't speak highly enough of him, really, because he can't buy those moments. No. He can. And winning in America, I was thinking about this. He'll win the Tour Championship. He's done that. That's not a patch on the Irish Open. The prize fund's not as big. The consequences aren't as big. He can only play his way into those amazing moments, either at Open Championships. He did it now at the Masters. Now he's done it at the Irish Open. Amazing for him. He lives for those moments. I think.
He's a guy. If you bump into on the range this week, he'll never go hi and carry on. He'll always come over. He remembers your name. I mean, I'm a different era, but he'll come and have a chat, and you talk about family and about his new house, and he's just a proper human being. And that's, I think that's why we all.
And I did chat to him on the range yesterday, and he was just buzzing from. He says coming over this side of the pond and playing for the home fans. The fans are here to watch golf. They're not here to shout obscenities at you. They're not here to see how many beers they can throw down their neck over the course of the day. They're here to watch golf, and he loved every minute of it last week. I've spent so much time over the last couple of days, TJ, watching that eagle putt from all the various different camera angles, and you see every single member of the crowd in the background going absolutely bananas. And you mentioned how Rory's still like an infectious young kid. It's seeing young kids hugging their dads, bouncing out and down together.
The kid and his dad.
Just fabulous.
They'll remember that for the rest of their lives.
Forever. When they're 80, they'll be telling their great grandkids about, when I was there when Rory won the Irish Open at the K Club and hold a monster putt for eagle, and I did feel sorry for Lagergren.
Yes.
I think he's it's golf, but you'd think he has a right to feel slightly aggrieved. He played beautifully. The guy's got a 35, 40 footy. That's 1 in 100. And then you remember it's Rory McIlroy.
But Rory's 1 in a million. That's the difference. TJ touched upon it, Tyler. Pebble Beach, the Players in a playoff, the Masters in a playoff, the Irish Open in a playoff. Has this already been the best year of his career before we even think about 2 weeks' time at Bethpage?
Very possibly. I would say yes. I mean, that first major win that he needed to get across the line, congressional all those years ago, clearly that was an amazing period in his time and an amazing year. But the culmination of the Grand Slam and then that big moment. And in the manner that happened. I mean, he could have won by 5 or 6 or 2 or 3 with a 4-footer at the last. That wasn't how he did it. He did it in, that amazing fashion box office. I think no matter what happens now. Well, I'll tell you what, if he wins the Ryder Cup, if we win the Ryder Cup, if Europe win the Ryder Cup, then absolutely tick that box, best year of his career.
I'll tell you what, let's hear from the man himself now. I grabbed a word with Rory about what last week meant to him, but also looking ahead to a huge few weeks ahead. Rory, we were chatting yesterday on the range, and you were saying just being this side of the pond, the crowds are here to watch and enjoy the golf. I can just tell from your body language you're just really enjoying your time being back here last week and another special week this week.
Yeah, I have. I've started to really appreciate coming back and playing in front of these crowds, and I think it shows in my golf, and I'm sure you can see it on me. But even going back to July, playing the Scottish Open, and then obviously the Open at home at Portrush, those are the things that they fill me up as a golfer these days, and it's great to come back, and obviously great result last week and amazing scenes on Sunday, and but we have to look ahead to this week and ultimately to a couple of weeks' time as well. But it's great to be back, great to be amongst familiar faces, and I'm excited to get started this week.
75 holes last week, and plus how emotionally draining it is to win in front of a home crowd. Another big week this week, then the team trip to Bethpage. You're going to say, that's a stupid question, Jamie, but how do you keep the energy levels up once you finally do get to Bethpage?
Yeah, I think, last week was a busy week. This week's a busy week. Obviously, the 2 days of the practice trip are going to be busy, but I think that's the rest of that week from Wednesday to Sunday next week is a time to have a bit of fun, recharge the batteries, but then also, keep your game ticking over and make sure that you're doing the right things and that, you're sharp going into Bethpage. So, the practice trip will be important for a lot of different reasons for us as a team, but I also think the rest of that week's going to be important where, we all do what we need to do. Like, we're all individual sports people. We all have our different routines, and So whatever we need to do to be 100% ready going into Bethpage, that's what we'll do. And but yeah, next week's an important week for that. But it's great to have all the lads here this week, apart from Sepp. But Sepp will join us on the practice trip, and it'll be great to get us all together.
How beneficial is that little team trip going to be? Because the one before Rome was huge.
Yeah, I think, it's amazing that it's pretty much the same 12. Obviously, you sub in Rasmus for Nikolai this time, but I think it is. It's since Rome 2 years ago, a lot's happened. In terms of golf and people playing elsewhere, and so I think just to get us all together again and to build up that, because the majority of us see each other a lot, but then there's a few people we don't see as much. So I think just getting us all back together and sort of building that up again is going to be really, really important. But I think it'll be easy once we all get together. It's like nothing's ever really changed. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
Does that continuity in the team and the backroom team give us a head start, or are we still underdogs?
I think we're still underdogs. I think any time an away Ryder Cup team comes to town, so I do think we're still underdogs. I think it's a really tall task, but not an insurmountable one. I think that there is an opportunity there, but we have to get the planning right. We have to make sure that we're all ready for what lies ahead. But that I think Luke's got everything under control, and I'm sure he's thought of every single scenario. So I think we're good in that department.
Just very finally, this may be something you're unaware of, but they are selling a USA Ryder Cup T-shirt. Are you aware of this? Yeah. Can you confirm or deny whether that is the silhouette of Rory McIlroy?
It looks more like Adam Scott to me than me, I think. But it looks a little similar. I don't know.
There's going to be loads of American fans at Bethpage with Rory McIlroy's silhouette in their tops.
That's okay. That's fine. I won't mind that.
We already sort of touched upon Joachim Lagergren, but a word about him. The second shot he hit into the 16th in regulation, the way he played the 18th in regulation and twice in the playoff, impressive stuff from him, because he would have known that nobody in that crowd wanted him to win, and to play the way he did, hats off to him.
Indeed, 16. What a 3-wood. I mean, when Rory won at the K Club, however many years ago it was, that he hit a magical 5-wood to 16 and an 18, didn't he? But Lagergren's was just incredible to 16. It's different for him, isn't it? It's a bigger thing. It's a bigger thing to win.
Yeah.
Life career changing again for a few years, exemptions and so forth. And let's face facts, he's not as good as Rory. So it's bigger and it's harder. And he played really well. Yes, he can mark himself down as seriously unlucky not to walk away with that trophy.
Do you think he pushed it? And would he admit to it? To hit it between the flag and the water?
Well, I think we know he wasn't trying to get it into. He wasn't trying to leave himself an uphill putt from the lippy, was he?
Bit like,
but it wasn't
Phil from the Pine Straw at the 2010 Masters. That shot into the 13. Yeah, he must have pushed it slightly. You're not aiming to hit it there.
No. Great shot.
60 yards. You're not trying to hit it to that, are you? You're trying to find it on the green. Yeah, 4 yards right where he was hoping to be, but it was brilliant. And lock the putt in as well. It did everything right.
Yeah, exactly. Unlucky for Joachim Lagergren, but secures his tour card, and hats off to him. One final thing from the Irish Open. The week began with Sergio Garcia withdrawing because he said his head wasn't in the right place after the disappointment of not getting a captain's pick for the Ryder Cup. He was then in New York at Carlos Alcaraz's quarter-final, semi-final and final wins, and played golf with him on the Saturday. Thoughts?
I totally understand why why Sergio didn't end up in Ireland. Yeah, he was hankering on his place in the team. He has played some nice golf this year. We know in years gone by he was Mr. Ryder Cup himself.
Yeah.
But I think Sergio maybe just misjudged what his move to live has meant. Yes, we've got Jon Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton in the team, but out of sight, out of mind is a thing, and there's definitely a slight element of that. Had he been playing the golf he played, on either our tour or the PGA Tour the last year, maybe he would have been one of those picks. But he chose elsewhere a couple of years ago. And it would have been hopeless for him at the K Club. That would have not been an enjoyable week for him. Shame for us in some ways, but I fully understand him just taking a break after being in his home mind, let down and not making that team.
He does have a bit of previous for this. 3 years ago at this very tournament, after playing the first round, the Queen passed away. the second round was postponed and he withdrew, was then posing for photos at a Texas college football game the very next day, TJ. So it feels like he doesn't do himself many favours sometimes.
No, I would agree with that. You know, when you look at his record, I think really he was on cloud nine, thinking he was going to get a pick, in my opinion. You know, he had one top 30 finish, which was 30th place in a major.
Yeah.
He hasn't had a top 5 on live since April. He's 45 years of age.
Yeah.
You know, why would you pick him over current players? You know, it's sort of, and I've seen it so much online that everybody thinks it smacks of petulance.
Yeah.
You know, got the hump. You know, I've got the best Ryder Cup record, but you know, you can't live on that forever. You know, to me, a guy like Marco Penge, he must have had 20 times more chance of
Harry
getting in
Hole,
the team. And you're right, he doesn't do himself favours.
It's the optics of then being in the crowd at Flushing Meadows for 3 matches and playing around a golf with Carlos Alcaraz.
You know, he said he wanted a break. Playing a social round with your buddy is not the same as playing tournament golf. But you know, the reason they went to live is so that they could play less. Yeah. So you know, how exhausted can you be?
Yeah. Well, yeah. He wanted a week off, though. I don't hold a grudge of him for going to the US Open. You're going to take a week off. Take a week off.
Take a week off.
Good
when your buddy's
not
playing
a bad
the
place
US.
to have a week off.
Yeah, indeed.
Let's get on to this week. Obviously, there will be so much Ryder Cup chat, and that's to be expected. It's taking nothing away from this event itself. Why is this event so special?
Well, we call it the flagship. It is, you know, it's our biggest event, no doubt about that. The history, the storied history of the West Course here at Wentworth is amazing. The crowds come out, they know it. We're just on the outskirts of a great city in London. 20,000 people a day or whatever it is. Concerts at the weekend, but done in the right way after the golf is finished. And as you mentioned earlier, it's a golfing crowd. You know, absolutely. And they understand golf in these parts, no doubt about it. And you know, when you've got a trophy that's got Seve's name on it, and Langer's, and Montgomery's, and Johnstone's, and Howell's, I mean, who wouldn't want to add their name? And by the way, the list of people that haven't won it, Lee Westwood, he's not won here. You know, think of the legend that Lee's been, you know, for the last 3 decades in European golf. He's not won this great championship. And if you go through the people that haven't managed to win, it's quite a stellar list of names, because it's our great championship, and it's difficult to win.
Ernie won a couple of world match plays here, but he never actually won the PGA at Bernhard, which is unbelievable.
Is that right? There's another one.
Because I mean, you know, he lives down the road, he lives on the estate. And this golf course is made from, and he did the redesign. He did. So it is a bit.
Is the history of a tournament something players are conscious of when they're playing in it? Of the fact that they'll get to etch their name with the likes of Seve and Langer and Monty.
100%. You know, and when they hand you the trophy, you know,
the first thing you do, is it?
You see Seve, and you think, I'm in there with them forever. It's a big thing.
But the romance of it, much like the Players' Championship in America, you know, I wasn't the world's biggest star when I won it. You know, you would have been behind a few when you won it. Scott Drummond. There's been also some romantic victories. You know, Scott Drummond. It is it's everybody. Certainly in days gone by, if you've got a tour card, you're here. If you had a full card, and it's a sort of course that gives everyone a chance, much like Sawgrass.
Why is that? So tell us why.
Because you're hitting to certain points on the course. So you know, everyone's. In days gone by, everyone was trying to hit it 285 yards off the first tee. On 4, you can only go to the corner. On 5, you can't blast it 330 with the driver. There's just or 6. The room's not there. Same on 7. Same on 8. So basically, it's a course of accuracy. It gives everyone a chance around here. Very often, the best players go ahead and win because it's a huge championship. That's what they do, isn't it? But no one is turning up this week thinking I've got no chance because of the course, and that's a nice thing.
Here's a comparison I made, TJ, a couple of years ago to somebody, and they scoffed, but bear with me in this. I compared it to Augusta in the sense that it's a second shot golf course. Ball strikers tend to do very well around here. Tree lined, demands a draw most of the way around, but then you stand in the 18th and suddenly you have to hit a fade or a cut, which you haven't done for a few holes. And because of the finish, like 13 and 15 at Augusta, where you can sort of jump up the leaderboard and put a bit of pressure on the guys behind you, you can do the same with 17 and 18 here as well. So there are similarities in that regard. It always provides drama.
I remember Greg Norman. He won when it was the Martini years ago in the early 80s. I think he in fact, I'm sure he finished 3-3. Finished with 2 eagles to win. So it can happen. And I like your point about this being a drawer's golf course. I mean, I couldn't play this golf course at all, to be honest, because I was always a fader of the ball. Worked with Bob Torrance for a couple of years, several years, and he got me drawing the ball, and that's when I won around here, because fading the ball, it was torture. You're always going the wrong way on the dog legs, and I just, you know, with a draw, it just felt so much happier with it. And I think that's a good point.
17 and 18 are two great finishing holes, aren't they? Because 17, you have to hit a big old raking draw around the corner, and then 18, you have to you can either bomb it over the trees if you've got the length.
I was just waiting on my chance to scoff at you. This is similar to Augusta. What are you going on about?
In terms of it,
Drawers golf course. What are you going on about? No.
You completely disagree.
Absolute nonsense. Both of you. Yeah,
Go on then.
No.
Well, you're just talking nonsense. You don't need to
I mean,
draw it.
it would be the first time.
You don't need to draw around here.
You need to draw.
No, I don't think you need to.
You need to fade it on 18. Where else?
Monty Fader, he kept winning here, didn't he?
Yeah,
three
because
times?
his distance control was perfect, and his accuracy.
Fade off three's perfect. Fade off
3,
fade
fade
off
towards
6.
the bunker.
You hit a big old draw
Four
4.
up the left. Absolutely.
4 down the hill.
8,
That's
just
a draw.
fade against the
Whatever.
slope.
No, the only years
9
I
in
did
between.
anything,
Honestly,
was when I drew the ball.
Yeah. You were only hitting it 240 yards when
12.
you played. It was black
That
and
was
white.
that was downwind off the top of a building.
11 and 12, those are two big draws required.
No, straight off
down
12,
the middle.
Absolutely. 11, it's either a
I
layup or
have
just
no
blast it over the
idea how
bunkers.
you won here.
No one draws. Who draws it nowadays? No one.
That is true.
Well, it's a different course now. To
I'm
be
not sure
fair
how
as
you
well.
scoff. What's the?
No, Howler, there is a difference. You're absolutely right there too with the distances that players hit it now. You know, I think it was a different golf course in those. Well, it was a different golf course, a different design, but and it was long. You know, when we were playing it in the 90s, geez, this course was a monster. And if you were hitting a fade, it just went and stopped.
I think anyone. I don't think it's not shape dependent. That being said, a nice casual draw off the 4th tee.
Yes, that would work. That is one.
I'll give you that.
Let's talk about the defending champion, Billy Horschel. Has had a few months out, which must have been hugely frustrating for Billy because it was just the time when he was playing so nicely as well. We know how popular it is with the crowds here, how much of a sort of Anglophile he is. He loves coming across the pond and playing quite often on the DP World Tour, and it's great to see him back.
Yeah, brilliant that he's chosen here to play again. He's a fan favourite, isn't he? You know, the West Ham connection as well. That works well for him and everybody. And Billy's easy to root for because he's a really genuinely nice chap. Works as hard as anyone, and deserves all the success that he gets for himself. No doubt about that. And he loves this place. Yeah, he's the man to ask what's required around here because he's a bit of a specialist.
And he draws, and he draws the ball.
And he can fade it at will.
You said Rory earlier, TJ will stop on the range and chat to anybody. Billy's exactly the same.
Absolutely. Yeah, just down to earth, man of the people, no ego, no no other side to him.
Yeah.
You know, he hasn't got the the media personality and then the real personality. Yeah. You know, what you see is what you get. I mean, there are a lot of guys out there that, when the camera's on them and the crowd's on, ho, 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 and they're not the same away from the course.
Go on, name them.
There was a guy, David Howell. No, but it's true, isn't it, Howell? I mean, a lot of guys play the the media game, and guys like Rory, Billy, they just who you see.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think people pick it up too.
Yeah.
People pick it up. Yeah. You go to a golf tournament and here's this guy that you've always watched on TV. That's ho ho ho, and suddenly your kid asks them for an autograph and they go. And they just keep walking, and that's the end of it. You'll never support the guy again. But Billy is, and he's a great competitor.
Yeah,
he's a tiger, isn't he? He's a fighter. I wouldn't want to get in the ring with him because you better knock him out because he's going to just keep getting back up, and that's how he plays golf too.
Yeah, it's great to watch. Great to see Billy back. Look, we're going to take a quick break there. When we come back, we'll be chatting Ryder Cup and hearing from 2 more of the European team who'll be hoping to become the first team since Medina 13 years ago to win on away soil. Welcome back to the Sky Sports Golf Podcast presented by Callaway, presented this week from beautifully sunny Wentworth. 2 past champions of this fine tournament alongside me, David Howell and Tony Johnstone. We're going to go on to the Ryder Cup. In Howler's case, a man who's been on 2 winning Ryder Cup teams as well. Obviously, the countdown to Bethpage front and centre this week too, not taking anything away from the BMW PGA Championship. But for the crowds in particular, to have 11 of the 12 here, only Sepp Straka not here this week, it's just great.
Brilliant. Oh, well, when Rory held the putt last, on Sunday in Ireland, Ole started. It's building, no doubt about that. I'm so positive about our chances. Have been all year. But when you see that list of names that we've got, if we can't do it with those 12 names, then it was an unmanageable task. I think we've got a great chance.
Yeah, and how important, TJ, would you say, competitive reps are actually having some tournament golf under your belt 2 weeks out from?
Well, I think you want to be sharp.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think you want to go into it having had a couple of weeks off, because, you know, we do it all our life. I mean, I personally would like to have played, you know, maybe 2 weeks before, until 2 weeks before, maybe the week before, because I've been around President's Cups, not a Ryder Cup, but it is absolutely exhausting for the players, isn't it? I mean, it is long hours, it's tiring. So
Mentally more than physically,
oh,
probably, yeah.
hugely. So I think, I don't know how you would have. I would have liked to have played the week before, actually, just to be sharp.
Maybe, but not when you. I think they're all flying over and having a practice trip Monday, Tuesday, or something, aren't they?
Well, they all fly together on Sunday night.
So they've got 2 weeks of Ryder Cup, really. They've got that.
So I was going to ask you about your thoughts on this, Tyler, because this wasn't a thing back when you played in your 2 Ryder Cups. All getting on a flight together on Sunday night, all having a little team trip to Bethpage for 2 days. They did it before Rome as well, and they spoke in glowing terms about what a brilliant idea that had been of Luke, and sure enough, they're doing it again.
I'll tell you about how things have changed, because when I played for Woozy at the K Club, 2 weeks before, myself and Luke Donald were playing with him in the BMW International in Germany, and we said, Woozy, what's the plan? You know, for the Ryder Cup? We were in the team, and he said, well, next week, he says, anyone who fancies it can, if we meet at Farnborough Airport Thursday morning, Darren Clark's jet. We'll fly over. We'll have a practice round. And we're like, well, okay, well, we're up for that. He says, so we'll fly over. We'll play. Whoever's welcome. You know, anyone is welcome. And then we'll stay overnight. We'll have a few beers. He says, and we'll get up in the morning, and then we'll play again. Talk about the course over lunch, and then we'll go home. Or if you've got nothing on Thursday, we'll stay overnight and have a few more beers. We said so. So what's the plan here? We're going to win this on the smash, are we, Woz? What about the actual week? You know, the Ryder Cup week. So we're Aer Lingus. We're going to fly over from Heathrow. We get there Monday. We'll arrive at the K Club about 5. Get to your room, see all your stuff. We'll meet in the bar for a couple of drinks, and then we're going to have a tour of the wine cellar. And we're like, right. So we are actually going to win this on the drink. Well, look, excellent. And we did.
I remember those iconic scenes on the balcony at the K Club of the old down in Guinness. So obviously you did get those.
We started on Guinness and we ended on Guinness, and we had a record victory again. So it was a bit different when Bernhard was captain in fairness, but that was the same result. So yeah, things have got way more professional in terms of the build-up of how to go about trying to win an away Ryder Cup, or a home one for that matter. And they're going to have just so much fun, aren't they? They're going to go. They're going to prepare early next week, then a few days off to do, but they'll still be in 2s or 3s. They're like, whether they're going to stay up north or go back down to Florida where they all live, I don't know, but beautiful.
Tony, what they said was so special about that Rome one was, and I think this is what makes the European team special in particular, you know, alpha males, major champions like Rory McIlroy and Jon Rahm, they park their ego at the door, and they're just one of 12 players, and they were sitting around together sharing stories, sharing their vulnerabilities, talking about their childhood. And Nicolai Højgaard, who's a 22-year-old rookie, is exactly the same as Rory McIlroy in that team.
Well, you know, the DP World Tour, European Tour as it used to be, we've always had a much greater sense of camaraderie on this tour, always. You know, in our day, we all used to travel together. We had 2 travel agents that booked us all. We stayed in the same hotels. We used to go to the course on buses. And it's always been like that. You know, you'd go down for dinner in the evening, you'd go down to reception, and, you know, a South African would join you, and an American, and an Aussie, and a Spaniard, and a Frenchman. And you'd all just go off to dinner together and have a great time. And, you know, I didn't play a lot in America, but when I did, the most amazing thing was the number of room service trays in the hotels. You know, just I remember going over for a World Series at Firestone, and Nick Price, who'd been playing over there for a number of years and had won majors, he said, it's just so nice to go out for dinner again. He said, you know, I have room service every night because nobody wants to go out for dinner. And, you know, our sense of camaraderie on this tour, there's no question it's made a huge difference in the Ryder Cups over the years.
I would agree with that.
Just be careful. I just want to finally say, you've got to be careful with spilling that Guinness down those nice pink blazers on the balcony at the K Club, because I can't.
Never mind that. If you watch the footage, Woozy, not that we, not the downing drinks is a good thing, of course, but
of course
we did, and Woozy did, but it didn't all go down the right hole when Woozy downed his pint, and what didn't go down there ended up on my jacket. So
down your lovely pink blazer.
Yeah, I've yet to get it dry cleaned. In fairness, it's still there somewhere. The evidence is still there.
It's a memento.
Just in case I need to blackmail him. I can't now. I've told everyone.
That was some outfit. That it really was.
Yeah.
You know what is going to be really hard? I'll tell you what's going to be really hard. I think Luke Donald is the absolute perfect man to captain this team because, you know, he's got a sense of calmness and dignity. But I was a vice captain at the President's Cup at Liberty National for Nick Price's team. And, you know, we had done 2 prior. We'd done Muirfield Village. We'd done one in Korea, in South Korea, in Seoul, which was an absolute joy.
You came quite close in that one, didn't you?
Yeah, one of our guys, I won't mention him, I don't want to destroy his soul, duffed a chip on the last. We had a really good chance. But the crowd behaviour, after about midday when, you know, there was a bit of sauce going down the gullet, was absolutely, and there's no way to cushion this, it was vile. It was absolutely atrocious. New Yorkers did no favours for themselves. You know, a lot of our guys play the PGA Tour, and they're popular guys out there. They got abuse, and the worst thing was quite a few of the guys had American wives. I mean, I couldn't come close on air to saying what kind of abuse they got. It was horrendous, and eventually we said, look, you know, ladies, maybe you should just stay in the clubhouse. It was brutal, you know, and you hear your wife getting abuse. Your urge is to go in the stands and clock somebody. You're not going to take that standing up. But I think Luke is the right guy to be able to manage that. They'll find a way. And it is the fear because, you know, you've got to be strong. But, hell, you know, when somebody's saying these things to you, you know, it's not easy to take. I know that they will have had this, you know, the talks and the psychologists and all the rest, and they'll be prepared. But that's the side of it I don't like when they play in New York. I've got to be honest.
No, fair enough. Well, let's hear from a couple of the team now. I caught up with Tommy Fleetwood, but first of all, we're going to hear from Jon Rahm. Jon, when I think of you, I think that there's probably not many greater historians currently playing the game of golf that you know, respect the traditions of this game as much. When you come to a tournament like this, which is so steeped in history, all the past champions that it had, and you walk these fairways, you must feel like you're walking in their footsteps all the time.
In a weird way, in a sense, yeah. It's hard not to picture some of the great moments in the history of this course walking down those fairways. I think every time I get to 17, at least once or twice a week, I think of Sevy's comment to the photographer, right? Was the fruitcake incident here as well? With was it here or no? I'm not sure, but that always comes to mind as well. It just seems like it was here. A few of the great moments from the past, right? Like Alex Noren's 10 under on Sunday, Rory's on 2014, Luke winning back-to-back. I mean, and then the weeks that I've been a part of as well. So it's a lot of great history, a lot of great memories that I'm very fond of, and I don't know, this word can be understood in a weird way, but it's a traditional course in my mind, right? It's kind of, for me, it's natural what I grew up, just tree lines, short, dog legs, right, left and right. Don't need to hit driver and 8-iron as hard as you can every single time, right? It makes you think a little bit and pick and choose when or what you want to do off the tee, and I think makes it a really fun golf course.
And how beneficial is it for the likes of yourself and for Tyrrell to see these guys that you don't get to see that often? You only get to see them 4 other times a year.
It's not like I saw them that often before. As a mainly PGA Tour schedule, and not all of us played in the same weeks. Players like Tyrrell is somebody I didn't see Tyrrell that often, very often. If they were predominantly on the DP World Tour, it's, you know, Bob as well was one of them. The Højgaard brothers were people players that, even though they're young, I didn't spend that much time. So it doesn't feel that different to me. I guess the opportunities are less where we actually do see each other and spend time, but luckily this week seems like just like any other year to me.
And look, this tournament is obviously a huge tournament of its own right, but you're all hopping on a plane together on Sunday evening and heading out for the team trip to Bethpage. I know just how important the one ahead of Rome was, so what are the anticipation levels for that?
But the same. Luckily the team is similar, right? It's same face, different name with the Højgaards, I guess. So and Rasmus was a part of the Ryder Cup as well last time, right? As he was there with Nikolai and Thomas. So I think we are already a step ahead in that sense than we were in Rome, but I'm sure we're going to do some of the same little routines that we did in Rome that I think got the team really close together. We're all going to be fairly tired Monday morning, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun to spend those 2 days together and get an idea of what the week is going to be like.
You touched upon the continuity in the team. How much of a head start does that give you?
I don't know how to quantify it, right? Because for the most part, we all know each other to an extent. So I think we just get maybe the nerves out of the way, right? The first time you see each other and being on the team hotel, we're already going to do that a week earlier. So I think that familiarity that we're already going to have is just, maybe in a small percentage make it easier. But when it's Monday of the Ryder Cup, it's Monday of the Ryder Cup, right? It's special enough. So I think, just having done it, even if it's a week before, it should make it a little bit easier in general.
Tommy, you already knew you were a world-class player who routinely competed in majors and at the top ends of the very best leaderboards, but how much did 2 weeks ago do for self-belief, if anything?
I don't know. I think there was definitely a bit of relief there that I finally got that one done. I think again, you learn from every experience. I learned from the tough times, the times where it didn't happen, and I learned from the time it did happen. And to be honest, there wasn't loads of difference in any of them. This was just my time to walk through the big gaping door that presented itself to me. And it's nice to finally have done that. But still, I still, very much feel the same, and I know where my game is at and where I want to improve and where I want to keep going. But to finally, I suppose, you go through steps and things that you want to tick off in your career. So to have that one done means a lot.
And as well as already knowing you had the game, I think you already knew how universally loved you were as well. But was even the outpouring of emotion, did that even surprise you? Yeah,
it was amazing. It really, really was. And I am forever grateful always for the support that I get. But yeah, the amount of people that, that story, that kind of became invested in the story, like personally invested and emotionally invested. And to see how many people it touched and how many people were a part of it was so cool and quite overwhelming. And I think that for me means more than any win, just the amount of people that became part of it and supported me through that and were so amazing about it.
And now this week you get to have a homecoming in front of home fans, and there'll be so much support for you. Rory had that last week, showing off the green jacket to the Irish crowds. I was chatting to Rory yesterday. He said what he loves about playing over here is you can tell the fans are here to watch the golf and they just appreciate you so much. How much are you looking forward to that this week?
Very excited. It's always such a great event for us, and getting the home support is amazing. And I hope I give them something good to watch. But yeah, this is one of our favourite tournaments. It's our flagship event. I think the crowds have always been unbelievably supportive and amazing, and I just love trying to hit great golf shots and having those special moments in front of all these guys, because they become such a part of it. So very excited to be here.
And this week obviously huge in itself, but then on Sunday night you all jump on a plane together and you head out to Bethpage for the team trip. I know how important the Rome one was. How beneficial can this one be as well?
Number one thing is so excited to just be with everyone, be with the team, and I think get together. And I mean, we are firmly in Ryder Cup season. There's the Ryder Cup all over the TV and all of that, and I love watching that stuff. I love being a part of the process now that is the team is set, and the Ryder Cup's coming up. I think Sunday, or next week, the practice days are a huge part of that, and seeing the course is great, but getting the juices flowing, getting that excitement, all being together, it's the best feeling. It's so good. And I think this practice trip will be great for us. Rome, it worked well, and I think Luke has always done such a good job of being right on cue with what we need and what we're doing, and this practice trip will be another one of those, and hopefully it does serve us well.
And just finally, that continuity, the fact that it's the same captain, the same backroom team, 11 of the 12 players, and one twin swapped in for the other. How much of a head start do you think that maybe gives Europe this time?
Well, I think every Ryder Cup that you play, right at the end of it, you're all like, how good would it be if let's just keep the team and let's just go again, and you always say that without really obviously don't mean it because it never happens, but this time, to have us all together, to have that experience, to have the team connection that we had last time moving on to this one, I think hopefully it will only be serve as a good thing for us, serve as an advantage. I'm excited to be with all the guys, and I think of course every time the team's set, you couldn't ask for a better 12 guys, and we're just all ready to go into that together and have another pop at trying to get the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, great to speak to Tommy and Jon and Howler. Just hearing the way they speak, this team feels so well prepared. And actually, I think probably the best prepared team to win on away soil since your team of 2004. I know we won at Medina in 2012, but that was a 1 in a million chance. That 2004 team, I look back at that now, and you had a captain in Bernhard Langer, who I see a lot of him in Luke Donald, just, you know, understated but meticulous in his preparation, goes about his business, leads by example. There are comparisons to be made to that 2004 side, I think.
Yes, I think they're both quiet men, very thoughtful, intelligent men, no doubt about that. So that's their leadership style. And this is a throwback to Jacqueline as well, isn't it? Who was so successful that with Luke going again, and he might have to try and do things slightly differently, but basically he's got the same 12 players, hasn't he? Bar one, which in itself is unheard of. I mean, that's never been the case, even back in the days of Seve. You know, there'll be a different Spaniard that came along to fill a gap. So a big, an interesting challenge for Luke, but there's no babysitting going on, is there? You know, Rasmus he's a rookie only by name, isn't he?
Yeah.
And they're all big boys, and they're all winners, and they're right, absolutely top class. Lots of major winners in there. I mean, even Tommy Fleetwood, think about that. He was brilliant 2 years ago, a star of the game. Now he's FedEx Cup champion. He comes in differently. McIntyre comes in as a big boy now rather than a rookie. It's a stronger team.
Just give us an idea of what Bernhard was like in 2004 when you were a rookie, of course.
It made great decisions, one of which was not playing me on day one. But it was a good decision, you know, and he didn't make it in any sort of amazing way. I just didn't play. It wasn't an arm around the shoulder scenario. I didn't need that, and I think he obviously recognised that. And we just got on with it. He made good decisions in a very straightforward way. Eventually, by chance, put myself and Paul Casey together, which was genius. I don't think that came about by design, almost. Might have maybe just sort of lucked on that partnership, but that worked perfectly for me. But we had a really, really strong, big first 8 and 9 players. In Clark and Westwood and Monty, and I mean, watching those guys go about their business and talking in the team room. I mean, hairs on the back of my neck standing up again now. To go, I've played 2 Ryder Cups. I've never played twice on a Friday or Saturday. You know, one match enough. Yeah. To go out, do something big in the morning, then go and do it again, I hold my hands up. It really is some feat to keep that top quality golf going over the course of 10, 12 hours, and then do it again on Friday. Amazing. Yeah, and that's what might be required of the likes of, you know, Rory and Tommy and Jon Rahm and those big guns at the top of that European team. The continuity, TJ, 11 of the 12 players from Rome. Rasmus subbed in for Nikolai, but Rasmus was there in Rome as well. He was driving Thomas Bjorn's buggy for him and experienced it all. How much of a head start does that give Europe?
I think that's fantastic. You know, the guys, you know, except for one, they've all done it. And, you know, the picks are there for a reason, because they're playing well. So the guys that have done it, and they're playing well. And they're not scared of anybody, to be honest. I think I think there'll be a relish in the idea. And, you know, you made a good point about putting your arm around a guy. That's another thing with the captain. You've got to be a psychologist, because some guys want the arm around them, you know, and the other guys just get away. I'm a man, leave me in peace. You've got to be able to read the crowd, haven't you, Howler?
They might just call Rasmus Nikolai all week amongst themselves.
I already said, look, you don't even need to bother with the team photo. You can just use the same team photo.
Let's just get over this and get on with it. Oi, Nick, come on.
Just to play devil's advocate slightly, Howler, is there any risk at all that, you know, 2 years ago in Rome, Luke's messaging was all fresh for these guys and they were ready to run through brick walls? And is there any chance that messaging could go stale? That it's different this time? Or is Luke clever enough that he'll find different ways of motivating them this time around?
They don't need motivating.
No.
Who needs motivating?
Yeah.
I mean, this is not to dismiss the brilliant things that Paul McGinley's done over the years, and all the captains since Jacqueline onwards, they've all done it their own way and in their own special way, and Luke clearly was hugely successful, and they liked him and they wanted him to do it again. But they don't need motivating. No. You know, they know exactly what's going on. If you can make them laugh, if you can make them smile, that's probably as important as motivating them. Crikey, if you're not motivated to get on the Ryder Cup, then you shouldn't be there.
Can I ask you a question? How different did it feel when you'd already played in a Ryder Cup second time round? More motivated, less nervous? Because there must have been a difference. You look forward to your first Ryder Cup, but once you get one under the belt, it must feel different.
Very different. Well, I'd come on as a player in those 2 years as well. I'd won again. I'd won here. I think trying to get the timing right.
Beaten Tiger.
So I'd moved on. I wanted to play a bigger role. I played 3 matches instead of 2. But yeah, I was, whilst still filled with anxiety and in practice, I was still troubled by by not wanting to let those other 11 guys down. I wasn't in good form in practice. That being said, I was way more self-assured. I had my own plan. I knew how I would deal with Henrik Stenson. I found out the first time round that I was better leading the ship of myself and Kate. I turned into captain. I didn't know that about me, really. Paul wasn't expecting that, nor was Bernhard. They wasn't expecting that. But that's how I dealt with it. So I captained my little team. That worked for me. It worked for my partners as well. So I was way more assured, and it's a big advantage unless you've got a load of scar tissue from not having been successful. My second one was having won the first one.
Your 2 were 18.5, 9.5 victories, both of those teams, which are two absolute routes.
Well,
it must be. Is it different teeing off on a Sunday, thinking we're kind of in a really dominant position here?
I think the point to make about that really is clearly I was the difference.
Absolutely.
I mean, what can we say? 2 record victories. That's
Forget
all
Monty and Harrington and all.
Largely me.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm surprised I'm not there, actually. I don't even know what your point was. Talking nonsense.
I was just going to say, when you're teeing off on a Sunday, or does it bring its own pressure? Where you're thinking, God, I mean, if we cock it up from here, then Well, is it when you've got when you're in a really dominant position heading out on the Sunday? What difference does that make?
Well, I'll tell you what happened, which was wonderful in Oakland Hills. The final team meeting. I loved the team meetings in the boardroom at the hotel, by the way. Amazing. Something I was unexpected for me. I don't know if they still do it in the same way now, but just the captains and the 15 men in there. Bush. Brilliant. And the last night, when we were so far ahead with a round to go in Oakland Hills, Monty stood up, and after everyone had spoken, there were lots of good speeches, not just from Bernhard. And then Colin stood up and he said, "We've got an opportunity tomorrow, and our opportunity is this: we could beat them so badly that we've already beaten them for 2 years' time."
Wow.
And that was, whoa, So I promptly went out and lost 7 and 6. But everybody has played their part, and amazing! What a speech!
Oh, you give me goosebumps just listening to that.
It was powerful. Like, Craig, imagine me. I'm the rookie in the team, as was Casey and Poulter. Blimey!
And it worked.
And it did. And actually, it was important because, I remember going out onto the course with Thomas LeVay. He hadn't won. He'd played a couple of times. He hadn't had a point to that. At that point, the match was over. And I was geeing Thomas on, contribute to this team. Because I felt like, for me, if I don't get a point, I'm not going to feel really part of that sensational victory. And sure enough, he won. And that was another, every point's a 2-point change in the scoreline, isn't it? 1 to you and not to 1 to you. And we pretty much did. That momentum had shifted massively. So we get to the K Club 2 years' time. Of course, we knew autumnal Irish conditions. We'd won. It felt like we were 2 points up.
Fantastic.
And that's so
brilliant.
Paolo, I don't think anybody, myself included, who hasn't played Ryder Cup can understand the pressure. I just don't think you can. And just to illustrate it, Mark James, who was a Ryder Cup captain, won innumerable tournaments on the DP World Tour, he tells the story at the Belfry. He got on the 17th and he had a 4-footer, a 3 or 4-footer on the 17th to keep the game alive, to go down 18. I think Howard Clark was his partner. And he said he put his putter down behind the ball, and he said his one leg became paralyzed. He said he put the putter and he wanted to take his stance, and he was frozen. He couldn't move. He thought, well, I better just hit it. So his feet were all akimbo, and he hit the putter and it went in. But he said he absolutely was frozen solid, couldn't move. Now, where else do you get that sort of feeling? And he was as hard a competitor as you could meet on this planet.
Cannot wait for it. Fantastic. In other news, the USA recorded a big win in the Walker Cup against GB&I, 17-9 victory at Cypress Point. GB&I actually held their own in the 2 foursome sessions, winning the 2 foursome sessions 5-3. In the singles, a different story. The USA winning those 2 sessions 14-4. 5th win in a row now for the US in Walker Cups. David Howell, a member of the team which famously beat Tiger Woods and co at the 1995 Walker Cup at Royal Porthcawl. Is it time? Is it even feasible for the Walker Cup to do what the Ryder Cup did and incorporate mainland Europe?
Oh, crikey, there's a question. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it will. That being said, obviously the first time I've ever contemplated that. But yeah,
5 wins in a row. It's tough. The odds are stacked against GB&I in that tournament, aren't they?
Yeah, well, it would seem that way. I mean, they're a much bigger nation than us. There's no doubt about that. So it would be. It's an interesting thought. Yeah. Maybe it's not beyond the realms of possibility. But it's a lovely event as well. Listen, the World Cup's not going to go away.
How much did you enjoy
it doesn't
95?
It doesn't need to. It is what it. The World Cup is what it is. We make it bigger. There's more television coverage than it used to be. But it's not. In a way, it's not hurting anybody that it's one-sided.
That's true.
Whereas the Ryder Cup, it's big business. Let's face facts, and it supports a lot of professional golfers and the PGA of America, and not just tour pros. It's it does a lot for the PGAs around the world as well. There's a financial aspect to it. So I think there's no real need for it to. And you know what? The players, they still love playing it. It's not like the American players are Walker Cup. I'm not so worried. They're still staying to. They're not turning pro. They're still staying to amateur to play in it, and it's a one-time gig as well for most of the guys.
How fond memories do you still have of Porthcawl 30 years ago?
Amazing. Two things come to mind. My first, I had a 4-footer on the final green first day to win our match. I was playing with my great friend Mark Foster. Against Chris Riley and his partner, whose name Alan Bratton, maybe, I think. Anyway, I missed. Talking about nerves, Mark James was the first time with cameras, the good old B back in those days. Alice commentating, and I put my putter behind the ball, and I was looking, and I said to Fozzie, my partner, I said, Fozzie, I don't fancy this. It was about a ball outside the right. I said, I can't stop shaking. I don't fancy this. He said, I'll just whack it. It'll either go in or it won't. Anyway, I miss. I played beautifully, by the way. I miss. We get half a point. It's okay. And I go in, and I played so much better than Mark. He'll admit. But that being said, he maybe had a better reputation than me at that time, standing in the team. Anyway, so I get dropped for the afternoon. I thought, well, that's a bit harsh. I've played beautifully there. Mark's got a tea time in the afternoon. I go in and I put the telly on and I'm having a sandwich, and on comes grandstand, and the first thing Peter Ellis goes to is my putt that I just missed. So the first time I ever saw myself on TV was reenacting the worst putt I've ever hit.
I didn't play all of your wonderful shots from that round.
But 2 days later, I've been very fortunate. Funny how timing works out. I beat Nota Begay, good player, lovely guy. In the media now as well. Tiger's a good friend, of course, and I think I won 3-1 on the Sunday, and that happened to be the point that sealed victory for us. We were going to do it. It was either me or Stephen Gallagher or someone. The timing fell on me, and that was a really sweet moment for an amateur.
You, Stevie Gallagher, Podrick Harrington was a good side, though.
It was good.
Coming up this week in the world of golf, the LPGA have the Kroger Queen City Championship in Ohio. Lydia Ko looking to defend her title there. The PGA Tour is back. Their fall season starts with the Procore Championship in Napa. 10 of the 12 US Ryder Cup side in the field for that. No Bryson because he's ineligible, obviously. No Xander Schauffele, who I think has recently just become a dad again. Maybe that's one of the reasons for that. Spoke about it at the Tour Championship as well. Just said he fancied a longer break before Bethpage to stay fresh. But that does us for today. Thank you to all my guests for today's podcast, to Rory, to Tommy, to John, but especially to these two fine gents, two past champions here around Wentworth, to TJ and to Howler. If you've liked what you've heard or watched today, make sure to give us a follow on Apple or Spotify, wherever you get your pods. Leave us a review, let us know what you think of the show. Huge thank you as always to Callaway for sponsoring the podcast. Next week I'm going to have Nicholas Colsaerts with me to talk about his extraordinary 25-year career as he prepares to play his 499th DP World / European Tour event in Paris. The Dunhill the week after the Ryder Cup will be his 500th. Nice. Still some way behind this man here.
Nice though. Dunhill 500th. Good
yeah, it's a nice place to do it, isn't it? You have to be a special player to win around there as well.
Well, your words, not mine.
Nico and I will, of course, be chatting plenty more about the Ryder Cup too, as a man who was part of that winning team at Medina and vice captain 2 years ago in Rome. A great raconteur with some fantastic stories. So do join us again at the same time next week.